Could I have everybody's attention for just a minute? Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone taking just a minute out of the busy day. But we thought it would be keeping in tradition of what we've been doing here in the town is to recognize Hanukah, the Jewish holiday that actually started last evening. And very fortunate that over the years we've had an opportunity to become much more aware of the Jewish holiday and the traditions associated with the various Jewish holidays. And very pleased that this is being kept alive and going with our town clerk, Amy Steklof Rosenbaum. And Amy and I spoke a while back that we thought it would be a great opportunity to make sure that we recognize the Jewish holiday and recognize all of our Jewish residents as we embark on this holiday. And we do have a special guest with us today who is certainly special to me, but even more special to Amy. And with that, I would turn that over to Amy for the introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It's very exciting. It is our first day of Hanukkah. Last night at sundown began the celebration of the Hanukkah holiday. And today with us is a former town board member, Supreme Court Justice, and my brother, Matthew Rosenbaum, who's going to give a little presentation on the holiday.
Thanks, sis, very much. All right, well, thank you very much for being invited back to the greatest town hall in the entire state of New York and in the United States of America. And I want to thank you got it, that's right. And I was very honored when Amy called and said she'd had a discussion with Supervisor LaFountain. For those of you who don't know, though, when I was on the board back when I started in 2000, Tony was the senior member, and Tony was extremely instrumental in teaching me the ways of the town board. One of the first things he talked to me about was the Jewish holidays, that he wanted to make sure that the town recognized the Jewish holidays appropriately. As a result, he was the one who would talk to Supervisor Philbrick and then Supervisor Wiedemer about making sure that town hall meetings that I might not be able to be involved in could be rescheduled. So I've always appreciated that very much from Supervisor LaFountain. So it's wonderful to be here and to talk about Hanukkah. Very briefly, for those of you who don't know, Hanukkah comes from the 2nd century BC, when the Second Temple was under siege by the Greeks. And a King Antiochus came in and desecrated the temple. And when he got to the main area itself, where the Torah scrolls were kept, where the Holy of Holies was to be located, he began to set apart certain things that the Jews had and started to put in place idols and other objects for his benefit. It was at that time a small group of Jewish priests who named themselves the Maccabees revolted and were able to throw back Antiochus and were able to get back into the temple. When they got into the temple, the first thing they wanted to do to rededicate the temple was to make sure they got rid of all the impurities and to light the oil that was the eternal flame that was supposed to be over the Word of God. When they got there, though, they saw there was just a very little bit of pure olive oil, which was what had to be used. And as a result, they saw it would only burn for 1 day. Now, back then, it took 8 days to press the oil appropriately to make it pure. And so they would need another 8 days to get to the point, and they did not know how that was going to work for them, but they decided to light the oil and have the lamp lit for as long as they could, and it was a miracle. It lasted 8 days. So as a result, we dedicate this holiday to the Maccabees and to our ancestors for keeping the Second Temple as it should have been until, unfortunately, it was destroyed, and we wait to this day for the Third Temple to be rededicated. But it's a wonderful holiday. A lot of people think it's a minor holiday, but it's actually a major holiday because it's the last holiday that Jews know that a miracle occurred, that they can point to an actual miracle. So it is a major holiday. So we say blessings over the candles. There are certain rules that people may not know about the candles. For instance, you're not allowed to read by the candles because the candles are holy. So the candles are strictly to commemorate, and you're supposed to stay away. Now, interesting, that was for 8 days, and you will note there are 9 candles there. The candle on the top is called the head candle. It's called a shamash. And it's the leader candle, and you use it to light the other candles. As a result, this candle, if you accidentally read by it, they say it's okay because they'll say you were reading from the lead candle. Jews are always good with loopholes. So I think we were the first ones to come across the loophole issue, but that's one of the ones that's my favorite because I don't know how you can tell which candle you're reading by. But in any event, then in the 17th century, to go along with this, a long-standing Jewish custom was to give children coins called gelt, Yiddish word for money, and they were given to children, sometimes for them to keep for themselves, but generally it was to teach Jewish children about the importance of giving to charity, which is called tzedakah in Hebrew. So we now, what we do is we take chocolate coins and we give them to kids because we know the kids would rather have the chocolate coins, but we also give the kids real money, and then they, in turn, one of the customs is either to give to a teacher who may be having some financial difficulty or to give to them to give to charity. So that is the purpose of the money being there. And then finally, as we became more assimilated, since it's around the holiday of Christmas, gifts began to come into play, and children also get gifts at this time of year, although that's not always the case. But that, in a nutshell, is the story of Hanukkah. And right before sundown, on every night, we light a candle, and then we take the lead candle. In this case, it would be on this particular menorah, Hanukah, is the Shamash lead candle. And what you're supposed to do is light from the most recent night to the night from before. So you always start the newest night and go backwards. And that is pretty much the story. We say a couple blessings. First blessing is to thank God and bless God for blessing us and giving us commandments of lighting the Hanukkah candles. And then the second blessing is to thank God and bless God for giving us miracles. And that's pretty much what we do.
And Matt, do you want to mention why we even play with this item, which is a dreidel?
So the dreidel actually originated during the same time. And what would happen is the Greeks would come in, and you were not allowed to study any type of Judaism. If you were caught, you were killed. Any type of Judaism at all. So what the Jews would do is they'd have tops. We call them dreidels now. They were tops, and they would spin them when someone would come in. They'd hide their scrolls and everything, and they'd spin so the Greeks would think they were just gambling, and they would let them go. Later on, after the holiday, they made a four-sided dreidel to commemorate it, and it has Hebrew letters on each side: a nun, a gimel, a hey, and a shin. It stands for Nes Gadol Haya Sham, which stands for a great miracle happened there. If you live in Israel, it's one of the funnier things. It says Nes Gadol Haya Po, which means a great miracle happened here, because you're there. But since we're here, we're not there, so it's there for here and here for there.
So the dreidels in Israel, have a different last letter on one of its sides.
Is there going to be a test?
There will be a test. Jeff, I expect you to pass. You've been with me now for over 10 years. If you don't realize, by now. That's right. So that is basically the story of Hanukkah. Again, I want to thank the supervisor very much for, once again, showing what a great community Penfield is, how diverse we are, and thank you so much for your leadership.
Judge,
appreciate
thank
it.
you very much.
You know, one last thing I will say, there's a reason why there are donuts here.
Yes.
As I said, it's a miracle of oil. Donuts are made from oil. And if you are Jewish, or if you know Jews, as most of these guys do and have spent time with me at Jewish occasions, we're all about the food. So if we can draw anything in from the holiday, that's what it's all about.
So we eat a lot of fried food during the Hanukkah celebration.
Another reason to be Jewish, Jim.
And Bob Mead as well.
Bob Mead and Dick Horowitz, if he was here.
That's right.
All right. So thank you very much.
And while we are playing, the candles are burning low. One for each night, they shed a sweet light to remind us the days long ago. One for each night they shed a sweet light to remind us of days long ago.